What's up, y'all? It's your boy Tobias and welcome back to my channel. Today we are getting back on the smoker and we are gonna throw down and make us some Father's Day ribs. Ribs that your father will be very proud of and will make his day even better. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why these are gonna be some special Father's Day ribs. I'm trying out a product, well, a couple of products in this video that I think are gonna take these ribs off the cliff. I mean, the sky is the limit when it comes to these type of ribs. And that is simply because I'm going to be trying out products from a company called Texas Pepper Jelly. Now, I'm not being paid to say anything about these products, but I have this gut feeling, okay, that what I'm about to make today is about to be something serious. So I'll definitely make sure that I leave the link down below, but once again, I'm not being sponsored in anything that I say in regards to these products. The first product that we're gonna try out is the Craig's All-Purpose Seasoning. Now, I'm gonna be using this as the base on my ribs. You guys know that I always like to go down with an all-purpose base at the bottom. So I'm gonna be trying out theirs. I'm also gonna be topping off the ribs with the Craig's barbecue sauce. This is the competition tested, backyard approved. So I'm gonna be trying that out as well today. But the real star of this entire video, on top of the fact that we're making St. Louis style ribs, is that I am going to be finishing, okay, these ribs off with the original rib candy apple cherry habanero. Are you kidding me? This right here is what I'm expecting to take these ribs over the edge. Now, this is simply a glaze that I'm going to put over the ribs, and I say maybe the last 15 minutes of its cook time. And I'm really hoping that this apple cherry habanero flavor just kind of bursts through. I'm not going to go too heavy with the barbecue sauce so that this can really have its moment to shine. So what you want to do now is go ahead and get your vertical smoker or whatever type of grill you're going to be using preset to 275 degrees. Now, it's about 88 degrees outside today, so it's probably close to like 90, 95. So I definitely want to make sure that I'm keeping the eye on my temperature on this because it's probably going to run a little bit hotter since the sun is kind of, you know, beaming down on this. So we definitely want to keep an eye on that. But you can pretty much create these ribs with any type of grill or smoker that you have. It's just a matter of keeping an eye on the temperature. These will probably take around 4 to 4.5 hours. So go on ahead and get your whatever device preheated to 275 and let's get in the kitchen and let's get these ribs prepped. All right, y'all, so today we are going to be working with some St. Louis style pork spare ribs. Now, I wanted to make sure that, you know, every time I do these new rib recipes that I'm trying out different cuts of ribs so that I can also decide, honestly, what's my favorite style. So I wanted to make sure that I picked these up so I could give them a try. Now, I will say the top half of these ribs look pretty decent. You know, it's not too bad. You know, there's definitely a little bit of trimming that needed to take place with these spare ribs. Now, I'm not necessarily sure if all St. Louis style spare ribs need this much attention. I think mostly because I'm used to buying baby back ribs for the most part. So, you know, I'm not really sure if this is really, you know, a normal occurrence. Like I said, the top half isn't that bad, but for me, I like to try to make sure that I remove as much excess fat as possible so that you can really get to that skin. Now, typically, I would have actually cut off this end because it's so thin and you don't want that to become, you know, brittle and dry. But for the most part, I'll say the thickness for this is roughly around the same. So I went on ahead and actually just left that on. We're just going to go for as much meat as possible, but I do want to make sure that I remove as much of that excess fat so that the seasoning and that rib candy at the end can really seep down deep inside of it. So I'm just going to finish cleaning up the top, and then I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm actually going to do the exact same thing. Now, as I said before, you guys know that I'm not really a big fan of keeping the membrane on my ribs, that silver skin, whatever you want to call it. I always like to take it off, so I'm going to do the exact same thing with these. I also mentioned in my last rib video that depending on the cut of ribs, sometimes removing this membrane can be very easy or slightly difficult? Well, with the St. Louis style, it's just a little bit more difficult, but if you have a really sharp knife, you should be fine. This knife that I have is complete trash, so I need to get a new knife, but I was still able to make it work. So essentially all I'm doing is just wiggling my knife under it to kind of loosen up that skin just a little bit, and then I'm going to get a paper towel, and then essentially I'll be able to kind of just pull it straight back. So like I said, just get yourself a little paper towel, and then, you'll be able to get a good grip on it, and it should kind of just peel back for you. And then what I'm going to do is, once I pull this back, as you can see, I actually started to notice that there were some rather large chunks of fat that were still kind of holding on tight to these ribs. So I'm also going to go in and kind of clean that up as well, because you see all that there. I don't want all of that there. I don't want to bite down into hunks of fat on my ribs. So I'm just going to go in and continue to kind of clean these up, because once again, you really want to make sure that your binder, if you choose to use a binder, but really more so, you really want to make sure that your seasonings are really able to seep through and get directly onto the meat. If you have thick layers of fat in the membrane and all of that, you're going to have a difficult time, really getting all of those seasonings to really penetrate through. So, take the time, if you have the time, to kind of clean it up a bit. You're not trying to remove every single bit of fat, but those big chunks that I'm able to just pull off, you definitely want to go on in and take some time to really kind of just clean it up so you'll have a nice clean surface to work with. So now that I got these bad boys pretty cleaned up to my liking, let's talk about the seasoning. So like I said, today I'm going to be trying out Craig's all-purpose seasoning. And this is pretty standard, it's the salt, the pepper, the garlic, so forth, so forth. And for my binder, you guys know that I like to use mustard. And as a reminder, it does not taste like mustard at all. So trust me, you don't have to stress about that. This is simply the glue that's going to make sure that all of your seasonings stick. A little bit does go a long way, so don't get overzealous. Your ribs should not be dripping with mustard. It should just be a very nice, thin layer. And just use a regular yellow mustard. Don't go trying to be fancy. And so now we're going to go on the bottom half with, a decent layer of this all-purpose seasoning. We're not going to go too heavy with our barbecue rub, because we really want this all-purpose seasoning to shine through and that rib candy. But we are going to go in with the Killer Hogs, the barbecue rub. And this is mostly just to give that barbecue flavor, but really to give that beautiful red color. The paprika in this barbecue rub is out of this world. So I always like to make sure that I include just a little bit of this, even as a top layer on whatever ribs I used thus far. But again, as always, when you guys are putting on your seasonings, just make sure that no matter how much you put on, just make sure that it's even. You don't want it to clump up, and you don't need to go rubbing it in. Just take your hands and just push it down flat, and then you're going to flip it over and repeat the exact same process again. We're going to go in with some of that yellow mustard as our binder, the all-purpose seasoning, and then we're going to go in with the barbecue rub. Now, for the barbecue rub on the top half, I do go just a little bit heavier, of course, for presentation purposes. You really want to make sure that all that paprika really shines through. And again, you can always vary how heavy you want to go on your seasonings depending on the cut of ribs that you have. If you have a rib that's extremely meaty and very thick, then clearly you're going to need to add in some extra seasonings. And the good thing is don't feel like you have to add in all of the seasoning at the beginning. As it's smoking, after you're spritzing it, you can always feel free to add seasoning on the top as it's cooking. Luckily, in this particular situation and for this style of rib, I did not have to add any additional seasonings throughout the cooking time, and they turned out very good. Now that I'm done with the seasoning here, I'm gonna let these rest for 1 hour. I always do 30 minutes in the fridge and then 30 minutes at room temperature, okay? That's gonna allow all of that moisture to really come through, so that when we put it in the smoker, it's already going in with a little bit of moisture from that salt bringing out some of the liquid. So let's get on outside and let's get these babies to cooking. Alrighty, y'all, so I have my vertical smoker here. It is running at about 280, so it'll drop down a little bit. And like I said, you know, you really wanna make sure you're keeping an eye on this because it is so hot outside today. I have our ribs here, which are looking very nice. We're gonna put those bad boys in. I let those sweat for, I say, about 35 to 45 minutes. So we're gonna get these in there. Make sure we straighten them up. Make sure those bones are nice and straight. Push it in. We're gonna close this back up and we will come back and check on this, I would say, in about an hour. And we'll check to see if it needs a spritz, and if not, we'll keep on letting it ride. All right, guys, so we're coming up on our first hour, so I'm gonna go on ahead and give this a check and see if we need to give it a spritz at all. As you can see, there's a really nice bark forming on this already, so I'm gonna go on ahead and spritz it down, and then we're gonna close this back up and just let it keep on rolling. And this is my standard mix like I use in all of my rib videos thus far, which is just the water, pineapple juice, and a little bit of the apple cider vinegar, not too much. Alrighty, now that we got this spritz down, let's close this back up and let it keep going. And as of right now, you know, this is running pretty true at temp. It's staying at 275, which is all great signs. Hey, what's up, y'all? So while I'm sitting here waiting for my ribs to cook, I figured this would actually be a pretty good time to let y'all know kind of what my thoughts and ideas are behind all of my upcoming smoking videos, be it different type of meats, me venturing into making my own sausages, different type of chicken, poultry, I mean all kinds of different things. So I'm going to be trying out different various styles of cooking when it comes to smoking, barbecuing, and working with my griddle. So for instance, these particular ribs that I'm making for you guys today, I will not be doing my wrapping method, which is typically the brown sugar, butter, and honey, wrapping it and then let it kind of steep in that. Today I'm going to try it unwrapped, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I already know the other way works. So I want to know how this turns out with these style of ribs, and that's kind of the fun in doing these type of videos, is that I'm going to be trying out various different styles of cooking, different methods, different seasonings from different companies, all working with my pit boss cookers here. So I just figured I'd let y'all know kind of what my thoughts are behind, you know, all of these upcoming videos that I got going on, because I'm going to be doing them differently. And by the end of the summer, hopefully by late fall, I'll do one final video wrapping up what my favorite sauces were, what my favorite seasonings were, what my favorite techniques were with cooking different type of meats. So that's the plan, and I just wanted to let y'all know. So let's get on back to cooking. Alrighty, you guys, so we are coming up on the 2.5 hour mark here. So I just want to show you guys what these ribs are looking like. They are looking pretty darn good. I'm going to spritz them down just a little bit more, and I'm going to go ahead and check the temperature on these now as well. All right, let's see what we're looking like. Okay, we're actually not that far off. The thickest part is already reading at about 162, 163, and that's exactly what we want. So this probably only has about another hour or so, and this will be good to go. So I'm gonna go on ahead and spritz it down again. And like I said, I'm not gonna be wrapping these this time around. So just spritz it down really well. Push this bad boy back in and let it keep on cooking. We are trying to beat this storm that's coming in, y'all. So I decided that I did not want to add any barbecue sauce to this because I really wanted the star of the show to be this apple cherry habanero rib candy. So I'm gonna go in directly with this. We're not gonna do any barbecue sauce. So let's glaze this up. at this. Yes, yes, yes. And I'm gonna let this go for another probably 30 to 45 minutes. And then when you guys see me again, this bad boy is gonna be inside on the cutting board, ready for the taste test. All right, y'all, we have no time to waste. As you can see, these babies look absolutely, I mean, come on. Y'all know what time it is. Let's cut one of these bad boys open. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, come on. Come on. Y'all know that looks bomb. You know it looks bomb. So I think it's time for me to go in for that first bite. Let's do it. All right, y'all, it's time for us to go in for that first bite because you already know what time it is. Let's do it. Here we go. Mmm. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. Woo! That rib candy is so good. It gives great flavor. Not too much spice. Mmm. Mm-hmm. 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 Shit. Damn, that was good. Look, I would highly suggest give that product a try. That rib candy is pretty bomb. I'm gonna leave it down in the description box below. Look, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Make sure y'all subscribe, hit that bell to be notified so that y'all will be notified of all of my upcoming videos. And as always, y'all keep it grilling.